Okay, so let us start our today's session. Before I start, please give me a voice check and just let me know whether my voice is clearly audible to you or not.
It is clear.
Okay, fine. So what we are going to do today is classification. So this is a very important thing when it comes to analysis of remote sense images. Now, let us see a little bit of processing steps of this particular technique. So, classification is something that we don't do first. Classification is something that we do towards the end. So, end is means we need to do two, three more steps before that. So, in all my videos or in all my sessions, I generally start with the original image only instead of starting with an image which we have already processed. The same is done just to give you an end-to-end field of classification. So what all steps we actually do, that you should remember from the start. So let's start that. So firstly, what we have here is we always start with the original. So original is my original image. Now, from where will you download this original image? You either somebody can give you this image, or I have already shown you many sources to download the original. So it all starts from the source, and source can be uh, different satellite data. Satellite data. So let me make it very clear in the front, in the first place only, that classification can be applied on the data set from any satellite of any frequency. So it is not restricted to only a certain satellites or certain frequency. It is across. Then from the original we have, that is our next is going to be, what we do is, so original data can be in any format. Original can be in any format. Can be in any format. And we really don't know what these formats are. So something that we have seen is STK, or we have seen SLC, single look kind of formats. Then there can be many other different types of formats. So just to get rid of this format problem, what we do is we use Polsar Pro. We use Polsar Pro, and Polsar Pro can read any satellite data. It can read any satellite data. So, and from that, what we do is we do two operations. One is extract. We extract the image, and after extracting, what we do is we make T3 matrix. We make the T3 matrix. So this T3 is something that we use. So this is very important. That is T3, and this T3 only we use in the next step. That is basically the filter. That is going to be filter. And if you can recall, in filtering we have used many filtering techniques. We have used Lee Sigma, that is our very famous filtering. Then we have refined Lee, and there are many like this. So in the drop down of Polsar Pro, I think there are many such kind of filters. Now, after this, after filtering, we had two options. One was decomposition, which we saw last time, and the second one is classification. So I think last time I have shown you how to decompose this particular image, and today's topic of discussion would be just classification, how to classify. Now, what is the basic difference? Here in decomposition, you are looking at the radar response. That means you are actually looking at the backscatter values. You are looking at the backscatter values, and then you are trying to say that this particular backscatter might have come from forestry. This particular backscatter might have come from plain surfaces. This backscatter might would have come from water bodies or anything. So you depend on the value of the backscatter, and not just the value but the type. That means whether it's a single bounce scatter or it's a odd bounce or even bounce. So even bounce means double bounce, or it is volume scattering, or it is helical, and there are many. So currently there is something work is going on, 7 component decomposition. So their different responses are used to decompose the image. Classification is basically a technique in which we need to give some sample, and that sample is basically called as the training area. So classification does not actually depend on the response of the backscatter, but it depends on what is the kind of pixels that should be called as a particular class. For example, I have 3 classes. So I will have something called as training data, and then we have something called as testing data. So in training, we generally use a small data set. So training data set is generally small, and testing is generally large. Or you can have them in a certain proportion, absolutely not problem. Sometimes the proportion is 80-20, 20-80, 50-50. So it depends what and how well you want to train. If you are having less training data, then maybe while testing it might give some errors. If you have a very large training data, then also there are some different kinds of errors which are possible. So basically, classification looks at statistics. Classification actually looks at some kind of statistics. And to do this, to train and to test, we use something called as classifiers. We use something called as classifiers. So what we are going to use is, for classification in our discussion, that is a classifier called as SVM. It is a very well-known classifier, and it is called as support vector machine. So to the classifier, you have to give training data and you have to give testing data. For example, if how do we teach small students that this is apple, this particular object is an apple? So what we generally do is we show them different types of apples. Some are absolutely red, some are uh, less red, some are slightly greenish. So over a period of time, the child keeps that object in the memory, and a similar looking object, when it comes again in front of the child, it says that it is a apple. Now it depends how well that person says, or with what confidence the child says that this is an apple. That confidence is something called as we will say classification accuracy and for a classifier, and that is going to be our concern. So I hope you have understood this much. If you want, you can just take down in your notebook roughly so that when we actually start applying the classification technique on an image, I think you all should not have a problem. So we will perform all these steps. Here in this step, when we will extract, here we will extract only part of an SAR image. That means we will take a sub image. So just to make things more and more complex, so that you are getting the flow of everything. So if you have got this particular flow, can you just type yes in your chat box? Okay, great. So that is something that we are looking at. Now I want all of you to start Pulsar Pro. I want all of you to start Pulsar Pro. So I think you can take a screenshot or whatever you like of this thing so that it is just there in front of you for reference. Actually, classification techniques can also be used to justify how good the filtering is. If the classification is good, that means if you are able to filter very well, you can easily identify an object. So it is something like that. So if there is like fog, and if I tell you to identify which car is coming from the front, until it reaches a certain distance, probably, or sometimes we are not able to identify that particular car. What is the model? We are able to identify that it's a car, but we are not able to identify which car it is, whether it's a car or it's a bus or what. Now, sometimes depending on the headlight, we are able to see if there are two headlights moving simultaneously, it's a car. And if there is just one headlight, then probably it's a two-wheeler. So this is an observation, and this observation we have been seen over so many years, and based on this, at least now we can say whether it's a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler. But then sometimes in that same fog, some headlights are very bright, so probably that is a truck. So now we should be able to distinguish between heavy vehicles and light vehicles. So for all these things, we require something called as a classifier, and the classifier has to be trained and it should be tested. And in between, there is one step called as optimization. That means how to optimize the training with the given data set. That is also important. Just giving the data is of no use. If somebody is able to explain in a nice way that look, this is an apple, it is round in shape, it has a small hole at the top, and there is some small date at the top, and it has got this particular shape. If it is explained well, or maybe it is optimized well, that data during training, we will be able to classify well. So, anyways, without much theory, what I will do is I will straight away start with Pulsar Pro. You all can start with your Pulsar Pros. So we will start this together. Okay, so it's 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, fine. So it has started. I think I started with 12. I'll just close once. Okay. So you all should be able to see this, and this is just it. Now, what we will do is you will go to single data set, then you will go to environment, and let us take our basic image. You can take any image that you like, but let us all be on the same. Uh, so I'm going to San Francisco. That is our favorite image. And this time, what we can do is we can take the radar set 2. Let's take radar set 2. I think what is the operation that I told you? Just copy that image, radar set 2, and paste it there. Why I am doing this? Because I don't want my uh, data to you know uh, just get, I will not say corrupted, but I don't want a T3 of that small data. Okay, so let's copy it there and pin copy. Okay, fine. It has started. So it may take 1 or 2 minutes. What you can see is other areas, sub area 2. These were all the other processings on which we applied Lee sigma, and then we saw Freeman decomposition. Then we saw Yamaguchi decomposition. So if you have copied it, finished copying it, just say finished. And let us, I am naming this folder as San Francisco RS2 sub area 3. Okay, great. Paritosh Hanuman has copied it. Mine is 60-70% complete. Within half a minute, it should be great. So I am doing this because then it is better for me only to understand on which I have applied sigma and what I have done. Okay, so that copy I have now just renaming it to sub area 3. Now in sub area 3 there is a T3, so that you delete it. Delete that T3. Okay. Now you can go to Pulsar Pro, and you can go here again, go back to the Then you can go to your folder dataset, and here is my sub area 3. So just go back here and say select folder, that is San Francisco RS2 sub area 3. Select that and then say save and exit. No data files found. Change the directory. Yes. Okay. So the data path is set. Now go to import. Go to import. Like I said, if you go to extract and say sub area, it says enter input data file first. So we have not done that. So this is a space bond sensor, radar set 2, quad pole. Select this option. Space bond sensor, radar set 2, quad pole, and set that. Now go to SAR product file. Go to SAR product file. Give this product. Say open. See to it that this sigma naught is selected, and then you can just note this Google Earth icon. It is not enabled. It is not yet enabled because we have not read the data file. And then you can just see, read the header. So it is giving some advice. It will do this. Fine. You can say OK. And here are your header files for S11, S12, S22. And then you can just say OK. The moment you say OK, it shows you rows and columns. Say OK. And now again, if you go and say extract sub image, again it gives an error and says create a quick look image first. I'm just repeating this because you have seen that last time, but anyway, now say quick look. So it will take some 1 or 2 minutes. Say quick look. If your quick look image is there in front of you, you can just say quick look in the chat box. Okay. Okay. So Paritosh has got the quick look image. Good, Paritosh. Can you go ahead with the sub extraction? Others, Aman, can you go ahead with the extraction? Shruti also. Now, just wait. We will set our area actually, and then we will look at the image. Okay, search also has completed. I'm working on a slow machine currently, but next time onwards it will be a very fast one. Okay, okay, great. So we are now getting the quick look image. Now, why are we doing this? Because we want to focus only on certain parts of the image. So we are not taking the whole thing. Okay, so you all can see this small image here. Now what you can do is again go to import, then go to extract, and now say sub area, and now say sub area. So this is the area that we are going to focus on. So slightly let us zoom into certain things. Okay. So which area should we take? Let us take something close to the sea. Okay. So like last time, do you want San Francisco Bridge or so let's take San Francisco Airport. Okay, so let's take San Francisco Airport, but please see to it that you select this thing, select this, and then you go here, or let's take San Francisco Bridge. Sorry, let's take this. Let's take this much of area. You can see that I have taken that area. Okay, and then say extract. So we can go to multi-loop and just say here 2 and 1. And just see to it that T3 is already selected. So you can see that T3 is selected, and then row is 2 and column is 1. So we can say run. Yes. Okay, so the T3 matrix will get generated now. So since we are taking a small part of the image, the processing won't take long. But if you have finished extracting T3, then just type T3 in the chat box. So Paritosh, Aman, Adarsh, you can go to display and create the poly RGB. Now you can go to display. Okay, Yash and Shruti also. So you can go to display and say create RGB. So that is going to be poly RGB. And once then you say run. Okay. So the moment you say run, Utkarsh is the first one. Good. Let me just check it, Utkarsh. So here in this we have sub area 3. In that I should see my T3, and in the T3 I should see my poly RGB. So just for your information, I am showing it to you on your screens. What is the image that I have extracted? So you can see that this is the image. But now you can see that there is some speckle. There is some speckle noise, and that is the reason why now we have reached till this point. We were at original. We extracted T3 of only part of an image, of only part of a SAR image. So we extracted that. Now the next step that we are interested in filtering. So let us apply Lee Sigma filter. Let us apply Lee Sigma filter. So I'm just, if you want, you can just leave this like this and go to Pulsar Pro. Just say exit and just see to it that your path is correct, because sometimes okay. And then you go to process, say polarimetric speckle filter, and in polarimetric speckle filter we have Lee Sigma filter. We have Lee Sigma filter. So you can just say window size is 3 and the filter size. If you want the processing to happen faster, you can make this 7. Okay, but you cannot make it lesser than 7. So 7 is something that maximum that we have. So let's try this this time. Let's make it 7 and see whether the processing becomes faster or not. So I hope you all have set this to 7. The classification result might get affected based on the filtering. So if you set 9, you might get different classification. If you are setting 7, then you will get maybe a slight change in the classification results. So I am just saying 7 and running this. Do you want to create the directory? So Pulsar Pro is asking you, so answer is yes. So it should give me a Sigma folder. In the meantime, can you just post your poly RGB that you had got before in the chat box? Okay. Paritosh, Aman, Yash. So why are we doing filtering? Because we are trying to clean the image so that we have we can do a better classification. So in the example of a car running in the fog, if the fog is not there, then we can see very clearly what is coming from the front. But if there is fog, then there is a problem in identification. So classification is basically the same thing. And how well you identify is what classification is all about. Okay, Shruti, great. Shruti, this is the filtered image or the unfiltered image? Filtered, okay. So now you can go to display and just creating RGB, say poly, run. And I exit this thing. I should get in the same data set, you can see San Francisco sub area 3 underscore sigma. So on sub area 3, we have applied sigma filter. Here, sub area 3, we have applied the sigma filter, and in that we have the filter image. And currently directory wise also we are in, or Pulsar Pro wise also we are in this folder. So we have poly RGB. So you can compare yourself for yourself the two images. You should be able to see that this is pretty clear and sharp, and the speckle has been removed. Okay, great. Window filter size is 9. That's fine. Yes, that is fine. So don't worry. Let it be. You have taken the default window size, no problem. But I just wanted you to just see for experimentation purpose, like what if we do 7, what if we do 9, what if we do 11, how the classification can change. Okay. So now here, or rather how to decide which filter window we should take, that is also a question. Okay, good. So I can see that many of you are able to get the filtered image. That is good. So let's minimize this thing for now, and let's go to Pulsar Pro. So if you have finished filtering, just type filter, because next step onwards, Utkarsha, will detail increase on increasing the size? No, Utkarsha, in fact, details will become more sluggish, or I will say they will blur more. If the window size is big, then there is more blurring. If the window size is very small, then the filtering doesn't happen. And that is the reason why we have to choose an optimum window size. That is why we have 7, 9, and 11. So as a default, Pulsar Pro tells you choose 9. Utkarsh, have I answered your question? Okay, great. So if you all have finished filtering, just type filtered in the chat box so that I can go to the actual part, that is classification. Okay, great. Now, just before we start, just ensure in the environment, sometimes by mistake. So since you have done filtering, you will be by default in the same directory, but you can just check that by using the environment tab. Now you again go to process. You again go to process, and then you can say polarimetric segmentation. You can see polarimetric segmentation. Now in polarimetric segmentation, we have SVM. We have SVM supervised classification. We have SVM supervised classification. So click on that, and what should open is this entire window. What should open is this entire window. So what you can see here is in this entire window, it is telling you what is the source image. It is this, that is sub area 3 underscore sigma slash T3. So basically we are doing classification using a filtered image, and whatever outputs of the result of SVM are, that will be given in the same directory, that is sub area 3 underscore sigma. Now step 1 is, don't do anything but just understand. It says give training areas. So like I said, you have to give training areas. Then you have to select some classification configurations. In that you are having BMP and you are having confusion matrix. So basically they will be, when you tick BMP, you will get BMP files in the same folder. And what is a confusion matrix? So some of you might not know what is a confusion matrix. It's a very simple thing, I'll tell you. So let's say there are 3 classes, C1, C2 and C3. And let's say C1 is water body, C2 is land, and C3 is urban. Or I will just rub that land. I will just write here for simplicity, forest. Okay. Now what we want is, since we have a very big image, so what we have done is we took a small part of it. Firstly, we took a small part of it. Now inside this image, we are going to say that this part is water body, this part is forest, this part is something else. So we will say this is class 1, this is class 2, and this is class 3. So I will identify only certain areas in that image which are very clearly visible that this is a water body, and then give this, and then give this to the classifier, and then say, okay, I have given you some samples. Now you look for what is there here, what is there here. In other places, you tell me now what is the classification. So what it means is confusion matrix means officially it should be some cross matrix is some rows by some columns. So here we have C1, C2, C3. Now let's say that there are totally 100 pixels. For example, out of this, there are 20 water, there are 30 forest, and there are 50 urban. So basically, these are 20, 30, and 50, and support in all there are 100. Now, what I did is here I give a part of this, so I give 50. So if a water pixel is perfectly classified as water pixel, then we will get here something, the percentage here will be 100%. But if class water body gets classified as something else, then you will get some values here. Here, let us say class C2 is forest. So it may happen that class C2 gets classified as class C2 for 95% of the pixels, but 2% pixels may get classified as water body, 3% gets classified as urban. The sum should always be vertically. So if you take a particular class, then the sum should always be 100%. The sum should always be 100%. So it may happen. So if you look at the diagonal elements, so these are your diagonal elements. If these diagonal elements are 100% or close to 100, then your classification is very good. Then your classification is very good. If these are 95 or 96 or 97, or then also we can say it is good, but it is not 100%. Sometimes it is 70%, sometimes it is 80%. And then what will happen is that you will get some values here also. If there are 4 classes, let's say C4, then you will get one more diagonal element. If there is C5, then it will be 5. The confusion matrix will be 5 cross 5. If there are 6 classes, it can be 6 cross 6. So now we are going to give only 3 classes to the classifier just to see how the classification happens. So now I am going to again Polsar Pro and telling Polsar Pro in step number 2 that please generate the confusion matrix. Please generate the confusion matrix. Then there are some color maps. So you can just say generate the color coded maps using poly. So after classification, you can tick color coded color map. Once you enable this, then only it will ask you poly or Sinclair. So we will always take poly for our discussion. And then we have SVM parameters. So training samples, you are saying take 500 at a time. Okay. Here you have to tick if important unbalanced training point. So we are having a unbalanced training data. What are we having? We are having an unbalanced training data. You can also tick on this class probability and mean hyperplane distance, and you can also click on BMP. Now this sampling option is very important. Why? Especially in SAR images. Why it is important? Because Here, the distribution is always uneven. The distribution of the classes is always uneven. That means, let us say if there are 100 pixels, or let us say for simplicity, there are 99 pixels, then 33 will belong to class 1, 33 will belong to class 2, and 33 belongs to class 3. So we say this is the even distribution of the class. We are saying it is an even distribution of the class. But when you look at such an image, when you look at these image, we don't know how many pixels are water bodies. We don't know how many pixels are forest. We don't know how many pixels are uh, land cover. So that is why you have to tell SVM, that is the classifier, that look, I don't know whether the classes are balanced or not. You find out. So you tick this. If important, unbalanced training point. So you have to tick that thing. And these are the outputs. So apart from confusion matrix, you can get class probability also. So that is a certain, it is something similar to confusion matrix. What is class probability? So if you again look at this thing, here the probability is 1, here the probability is 0.95, here the probability is whatever. So you can get this confusion matrix in terms of the accuracy, that is 100%, 95% or whatever, or you can get it in terms of what is the probability of detecting this particular class correctly. So you can get that also. And then you can select on BMP maps. Okay. Now let us go to step number 1. So let us go to step number 1. I will come to step number 5 once we do this. Okay. So let us go to, are you on this SVM, this particular window? If you are on this window, just say yes. Sir, I didn't understand confusion matrix. Utkarsh, we will do the processing, and then I will tell you what is the exact meaning of this. Confusion matrix tells how well a class is detected correctly. Confusion matrix tells us how well a class is detected correctly. That means if C1 is in this position, if you are having a value which is 100 or 100%, that means C1 is detected perfectly. But if it is 95%, then we say C2 is 95% detected correctly and 5% of the pixels are misclassified. So they are misclassified into what? They are misclassified into class C1 and C3. Have you understood that, Utkarsh? Okay, fine. So the name itself is confusion matrix. It might create some confusion. So let's clarify that by practically doing something. So now you click on graphic editor. Now you click on graphic editor. It will prompt you for this particular file. Open a BMP file to select training areas. So I say yes. I say yes. So this thing will open, graphic editor. But you can see that no BMP file open. You can see that no BMP file open. So what you have to do is go on this icon. Can you see here open? Go on this icon, that is say open. Once you say open, please concentrate on these data paths. It is very important to check. So okay, good. We are still in the filtered directory only. So now I will open this poly RGB and say open. Okay, good. So now you can see here a poly RGB has opened. So on this particular image, now Pulsar Pro is asking us, tell me which are the classes, give me at least some sample, and then I will be able to classify this thing. So what we have to do now is, you can leave this image open and you can go to graphic editor. you can go to this graphic editor. Please see to it that here the class is 1. Class is 1. In class 1, we are giving area 1. In class 1, we are giving area 1. So we may give many examples or many samples of the same class. We may give many examples of class 2. We may give many samples of class 3. So that is how we specify the classes. So again, now select on this square rectangle sections. It will become yellow. It will become yellow. And then you can go on this BMP image. You should see a cross. You should see a cross. And just drag this square like this and leave it. Drag the square and leave it. You will get one square. So what we did is this one square corresponds to class 1, which is water body. Class 1, which is water body. Now you can say, don't press this class ka new. You can press area 2. You can press now area 2. That means of class 1, you are giving a second sample. You are giving a second sample. So I am selecting another square just right below it. This is another square. Now again, I am for this class 1, I am giving say area number 3. Again, I am saying new, and then I am specifying the area here. Again, I can say I can give 4 samples if you want. You can give 4. So give some samples on this side of the bridge. Again, say new. Again, give something on this side of the bridge. Please note, I am not pressing the new for the class. Please don't press the new for the class. So I am giving 5 or 6 areas on this side. And then you can just say save. You can just say save. So 6 areas got saved. Now you can go to new class here. Now we will go to class number 2. Now you can see when I press this new, this area by default becomes 1. Oh, okay. I did a slight mistake. No worries. I'm going to graphic editor, opening that thing again. Okay. So I'll start with class 1 again. I'm saying don't say save in between, otherwise it will not allow you to give other classes. You can give different colors. You can toggle between colors here, no problem. So when you add more classes, you will get more colors also here. So first one is white. This is area 1. Then we have area 2. Then we have area 3. Then we have area 4 of class 1. And then we have area 5 of class 1. And then we have area 6 of class 1. So that's enough. Now you can go to new class and you can just change the color if you like. I'm just taking it as black, and again I am selecting area 1. So this time you can see that the squares that I have put is on water bodies. Now this time I'll put some squares on this forest area which is there at the top. So this is one. Again, I'll say new. This is another. Again, I'll say new. This is another. So three areas I have given. I can give one more, 4, which is there on slightly this side. This is 4. So you can see green. And now I am giving a third class, which is settlements. So you can see here there are some settlements. I'm saying new class. Okay, no problem. You can take the same color. When we actually generate the map, that time the color will change on its own. So I'm just using this black thing here. This is area 1 of class 3. Then we have here area 2. And then you can say new area somewhere here also. And then class 4, you can say this is the new area. Okay. You can also take one more if you just like taking one. So don't take these areas very big. So if you have taken, now we are doing for 3 classes. So I can, by my eyes, I can very easily say that there are 3 classes. One is water body, then I can see some green cover, and then I can see some settlements. I can see some green cover, then I can see some water bodies, and then I can see some settlements. Now, once you are done with this, once you are done with these areas, then you say save. Then you say save. There will be this error will be there. You can just say okay. You can just say okay. Now, when you do this, what actually happens that we will see. What actually happened that we will see. In this folder, that is sub area 3 underscore sigma, one file got created, that is SVM training areas. One file got created, that is SVM training areas. You can open that file and see that it gives the row and column. It gives the row and column of the training areas. It gives rows and column of the training areas. So it is saying, see here, total number of classes is 3. Of class number 1, there are 6 areas. Then if you go down, of class number 2, there are, so here you will see somewhere. So class number 2, there are 4 areas. Can you see for every area, there are 4 tie points. For every area, there are 4 tie points. 4 tie points means what? For every area, there are, so when you, if this is the image and you are saying that this area is a water body, that means each area has got a corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we are selecting a square here, there are 4 tie points. But in Polestar Pro, we have an option of selecting a polygon also. We have an option of selecting the polygon also. So you can have 8 tie points. You can have 100 tie points, whatever. You can select the area in any way you like. That is absolutely not a problem. Okay. So this is how we select the areas, and we have also seen that a SVM underscore training underscore areas file gets generated in the folder of the filtered image. In the folder of the filtered image. So once you are sure that the training area file has, yes, it's correct, 4 vertices of rectangle. Yes. So once we have checked that okay, this training area file is now created, then you can go to this particular window. You can go to this particular window and click on step number 5. Click on step number 5. So whether we should use RBF or not, you can use a polynomial or you can use a linear function. So let us start with RBF, and for that you say recommended. You say tick this recommended. That means we have to optimize the RBF function. That is the criteria based on which we are going to say that okay, this is water body, this is going to be green cover, this is going to be settlement. So we have to optimize that. So you just tick it, it is just a step, and say setup and run, and just say setup and run. Then you say run RBF kernel parameters optimization. So it is just a button press, nothing more than that. So just do this processing. So this window will open. So it calculates the cost function C. So you can see this data processing which is there in the tab. If you have all pressed this RBF and then press recommended and then said setup and run, then just type RBF in your chat box. Okay, great. So just check whether your data processing has started or not. Okay, why has it not started? I'm just closing this. Okay. So just type here. Let us select that option in the first place. Training samples as 500, which was the default value, and then say setup and run. Okay.
Sir, training sampling size?
500. You can take a smaller one also, like you can type 50 also. I will just show it to you. Just tick here training sampling as 500. You can take it as 50 also, but it will take some time. And then just tick recommended and say setup and run. This thing will run, and then you will get, so your kernel function, which is basically going to decide the accuracy of the classification, is now optimized. And you can just say exit and save CE parameters. You can just say exit and save CV parameters. So once you say exit and save CV parameters, these parameters are also going to get saved here. You can see that these are the parameters. And one important thing, this was your actual image on which you are applying classification. If you open this folder, you can see these training areas. You can see the training areas. So this was your image. On this image, you said that this part is one class, this part is another. So can you see it has taken 3 different colors? Each color belongs to one class. Each color belongs to one class. Utkarsh, have you done that? You select on training point and then select it as 50 or 500. Have you done that, Utkarsh? Yeah, okay. No, it's not frozen. It's not frozen. You can tick on this menu. You can simply click at the top here. It will get enabled. SVM supervised classification. Okay, so here we started with our image, then we gave the training areas. Now, once this is done, you can see here cost and gamma are set. And now you say run classification. Run classification. So I'll repeat the procedure. Tick BMP, tick confusion. Before that, first you select the training areas in the way I told you. Then click on classification configuration. That means, do you want the classified file to be generated? So yes, of course. Do you want the confusion matrix to be generated? Yes, of course. That is the file which will tell me which classification is, whether the classification is good or bad. Then I use color maps. So when I'm generating these BMP files, I have to tell them which color map I have to use, poly or Sinclair. And then the SVM parameters. So for that, the input will be the T3 file. And from the T3, and the sampling set would be 500 here. You can also select the next one and put here training sample as 50. So we will just check that in some more time. Okay. For now, we will just run it as it is, training sample 500, and then just press setup and run. Put class probability tick, mean hyperplane distance also tick, and generate these BMP files also. Now, after doing all this, they set up and run RBF kernel parameter optimization. You have to process this data. If you run this again and again, you will get the same parameter only. So running it twice or thrice will not change the parameter. So you will get this. Okay, so you will get this thing. So you just say exit and save. Fine. And these parameters are stored in this file again. SVM crossval file. Okay. Again, going back to Cursor Pro. Now the last step, that is step number 6, is going to be run classification. So step number 1 to 5 is just configuring the SVM classifier. Step number 6 would be actually running the classification. So I say run classification. Now this black screen will open, and now it is classifying. You can see data processing. So if the image is really huge, then the classification also takes a lot of time. You can see that even if we have reduced the size of the image, Utkarsh, I think you should close Pulsar Pro using Task Manager and simply start it and go to the directory which is mentioned above. Go to this directory. Go to this directory here. this directory which is there at the top. Yeah. So it's saying some data processing. And once the data gets processed, you will get the classification file in this. You will see the classified file in this. And it's saying not responding. It's definitely responding. I'm just running it again. If you have any doubts in the step procedures, then you can simply unmute and ask me. If you are done with the classification results, then go to the folder, go to this folder here and see that you will sort on date modified. So you should be able to see the SEM classified image. You should be able to see the SEM classified image. Okay, great. I think Yash has got it. So did you see, Yash, that it has classified the entire image into 3 classes. Green is forest cover, red is water body, and blue is the settlement. Perfect, Yash. Good, Paritosh also. So this is what I mean by extracting data from the SAR image. You should be able to tell which is what based on some samples that we give. You can see we have given only some training areas, but the other entire image it has classified on its own. This kind of classification is called as supervised classification. This kind of classification is called as supervised classification. Why supervised? Because you told the classifier that this is water body. Something that looks like this is a water body. That is what you told the classifier. But sometimes the classifier might not, we also might not know what is there in the image. So in that case, we can go for something called as unsupervised classifications. So we can use both supervised as well as unsupervised. Okay, let it finish off. Okay, great. Aman has got it. So can you see, Aman, the first picture has clearly got three different images or three different colors. So you can easily say that the white color portion between those two greens is a bridge. So that bridge also is classified as a urban settlement. The bridge is also classified as a urban settlement. Or if you want to only identify bridges, then you can select a training area that way. That means a landmass with a water body can be classified as a bridge on both the sides. So you have to give the training area in that particular way. So you can get bridge as a separate class and other land covers as a separate class. So there is no end to this. You can give as many classes as you want and try to optimize the whole thing. So there are two important packages of SVM. One is called as libSVM, which you can see here. So you can see here that it is written libSVM. And there is one more package called as SVM Lite. There is one more called as SVM Lite. So libSVM is just fine here. Great. I am at 63%. So let's, in the meantime, if there are doubts, you can unmute and ask. Yes, others, good. Just give me a couple of minutes. So I hope you now must be appreciating the computation power that you have. If you are working from a laptop, it might take some time. But if you are working from a desktop or a machine with a good graphics card and all, this computation will become very fast. So we are just about to finish the classification. So let me show you my results. So this was my original image. This is the training sample that I gave. And now I should get my entire classified image. So I trained the system and then I told it, now you classify. Okay, just for 3% remaining. Okay. So, okay, my file has got generated. You can see that file here. Some more files along with that. Now I want you to see one file called as confusion matrix. This is the file that you should see, SVM confusion matrix. So let us see the how well this is classified. So just by looking at it, you cannot say that it is classified well. Just by looking at it, it's not really possible. So let's look at my classification file. Okay, great. So this is what I have got, and I'll just bring those images back. So what you should observe here is that in my case, the bridge is highlighted in blue. Can you see that? And you can see, though we gave forest, we said that this is forest. SVM could identify that in between the forests there are some settlements. In between the forest there are some settlements. So it could detect those settlements for you. Here there is a bridge. So bridge is in blue. That means it has considered it as a settlement only. In between there is a green channel here. Green channel. So out of this image, with your own eyes, you could classify three of them, but the classifier used its own intelligence and it told you, okay, see, these are the things. You can also look at this particular island, that is the Alcatraz Island. There are some blue spots on green. There are some blue spots on green. That means there are some settlements, which is basically the prison area on that island. So we could find out on that island there are some settlements, and those settlements are nothing but prisons. If you just have a look at the map. So I hope you have understood this. Now what you have to do is, so this is the visual interpretation of what you have done. Let us open some more files. So you can see here another BMP file. So this is actually not having much information, but yes, you can open them and just have a look. This is our cluster set, and this is the classification file. So this also can be used. Okay, great. So white things in this are settlements. Okay, good. Now I want you to open this file, svm underscore confusion matrix. Open this file, svm underscore confusion matrix. So let's open that file. So this is what I am telling you. So this is what I was telling you. Now you can see class 1 C1 if you look at the first position 99.96. So that means the class C1 is detected with 99.96% accuracy. Class 2 is detected with 99.15% accuracy. Class 3 is obtained with 97.81% accuracy. So these are the class accuracies, and you can see class 3 is getting little bit misclassified, but that is also fine as long as it is above 95%. And it has also detected the class population. That means it has told us that out of the total number of pixels, how many belong to class 1, how many belong to class 2, and how many belong to class 3. That is, how many are red, how many are green, and how many are blue. Now, when we applied SVM like this for the first time, we were unaware of the class populations. We did not know this, though visually we could see that, okay, there is a class imbalance, but how much the imbalance is, that we were not able to see. So you can see that C2 and C3 are having almost same number of pixels, but C1 is having 3 times the number of pixels. So basically, I think that is a water body. So what we can do now is, we can again go back to our thing here, and instead of training samples 500, you can click on this, if important, unbalanced training point. So click on this also. Click on this. So we came to know that there is an imbalance. So you click on this also, if important, unbalanced training point. And then you can again do the optimization with unbalanced training points. Okay, so this is done. Then you say exit and say again. So that parameter has come here, cost, and then say run classification. So when you run classification again, it will consider for that imbalance and classify. It will consider for that imbalance and classify. So the result should look out more or less the same, but this time we have considered for the class imbalance. This time we have considered for the class imbalance. So while it takes 2 or 3 minutes, we can have a small discussion about your doubts. Now what I want you to do is, in the meantime, while I process this, if you process this faster than me, you can pick up a data of any other satellite. You can pick up the data for AirSAR if you want, and classify the AirSAR data. And classify the AirSAR data from start to end. Now AirSAR data will get classified very quickly because it is very small in size. So start with AirSAR. Okay, 25%. Yeah. So if you have done this, just post the picture so that I can check it one. Let us see whether the classification accuracy improves or not. So it's 42, 43%. May take 1 or 2 minutes more. Utkarsh, have you restarted Pulsar Pro? Okay, good, great, Adarsh. Now, when we do this, there might be some very small islands or very small they might get highlighted. So just check. I'm not sure. Because how much is your RAM? It should not crash because I am using the slowest processor. No, 8 GB it should not crash. I am on just 4 GB. Yeah, so mm, you have to. So are you using which image are you using? So you select SLC. SLC.
Sir, version?
Version you can select the first one. Did it read, Yash, the file?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 10 minutes remain, 10% almost remain. Yes, could you go ahead?
Sir, initial number of rows and columns.
That's why I asked you. So if you open that STK file, the file that you gave na there, in the name of that file only there are rows and columns. Just check that.
Yes, sir, got it.
So that row and column you have to enter below. Okay, great. Aman is getting very nice output. So the bridge is now highlighted in a much better way. Aman, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So let's look at the outputs. So again, we applied some SVM files. So the name of this SVM file will be year, month, date, and then this is time. That's how they are naming this. So you can so again we can see this. So this is how the image looks. So can you start with AIRSAR data? Can you start with AIRSAR data? I'm just going to environment, and because I have already extracted the AIRSAR data. So that is AIRSAR Sigma. If you can just recall, we have applied many filters on AIRSAR. So in that, that is my source folder now, that is the T3. So I'll select that, save and exit. Automatically your T3 gets selected. And then I can say process, sorry, I can go to polarimetric segmentation, SVM, and so you have to open this in a graphic editor. Yes. Then go to this and say open poly RGB. So here also you can give 3 classes. So I can start with class 1 and say new area. So this is nothing but water body. This is also water body. Water body is also water body. Like this. Then we can go to the new class and say that this is green cover. New area in that is also green cover. And another area I will take here is also green cover. A new class. You can see these are settlements. And then just say save. Just say okay. And whether that has happened or not, to check, you can go to the AIRSAR file, AIRSAR Sigma in T3. You use. So you can see this SVM training area file has come. So good, it has come pretty fast. And you can just close this if you want. Training area file has come. Other things are coded. I will just select this only. And again, I'll optimize the gamma function. Okay, so that is optimized. Save and exit, and then say run classification. So this would be slightly faster. It should happen in within 1 minute classification. So if you have completed with AirSAR, you can post your images. Yeah, I can minimize the screen. I think this looks fine. Is it fine, Paritosh? This will slightly do the processing faster. Utkarsh, have you selected training sample as 500 and if ticked if important balance training point? Okay. Then have you optimized the kernel parameter? Okay. And then you have run classification and your command window is not opening. Is it already opened when you did it for the first time? Hmm, okay. So can you share your screen and show me what you are doing? Have you selected the training areas on the new one? Are you working on AirSAR or San Francisco? AirSAR, okay. So just about to finish the classification. So this was pretty fast than before. Yes, Aman. Yeah, I can see the you have classified it very nicely. Okay, so almost done. Yes. So we can have a look at the different files generated here. So this was my poly RGB. Then I had my SEM data. So this is my training areas. Right. And then we have our classified image. So this is something that all of you should be able to see. So if you are starting from the start, now what you should try is you try to apply classification on unfiltered image. You try to apply classification on the unfiltered image and again check the confusion matrix. So after doing it on filtered image, you will get a confusion matrix. After doing it on unfiltered image, also you will get a confusion matrix. So if the confusion matrix values are more or less the same before and after filtering, that means whether you do the filtering or whether you don't do the filtering, classification results are good only. So you can skip that filtering technique. But if after filtering you are getting better results, then I will say that filtering is a must before classification. So you can see how beautifully this thing has got classified. Yes. Okay, great. So I think it's almost 8 o'clock and we can end for the day today. And you can try out these classification techniques on probably the entire San Francisco image and see whether it is classifying it correctly or not. So at least you use 3 or 4 classification. If you are able to identify that this is the airport and this is a bridge, this is the island. So bridge, island, airport, they all become classes. Then this is human settlement, buildings. Buildings is a class. If you are able to identify between forest and uh, terrain, that is mountains, then you can say this is a forest covered mountain, this is a forest on some comparatively plain land. Then you can also identify lakes or water bodies which are landlocked. So all those things are possible. Yes, somebody has done show of hands. Yes, go on. You can unmute and talk.
Hello,
Oh,
sir, may I present the screen?
yeah, sure. So I'll just stop my recording.
Sir, I think it's being shared. Hello.
Yes, yes, I can see.
Sir, it's been
Or
stuck here
understood.
since 5 or 10 minutes, I think.
Just select that class probability mean hyperplane.
BMP2.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now go to recommended.
Setup and run.
Uh,
Then run
Run RBS.
RBF processing. Exit and save.
Yes.
Then I should run classification, right?
Yes.
So see, there's no CMD opening.
Okay. So, but it is saying processing, no?
Yes, sir.
Can you minimize this Pulsar Pro?
So what?
Can you minimize Pulsar Pro?